Selamat siang, Bapak Ibu. Perkenankan kami dari Bahasa Global akan menjelaskan Zoom User Guide dan bagaimana cara menggunakan fitur-fitur di dalam Zoom ini. Bapak Ibu, berikut panduan dan pengaturan dalam Zoom webinar ini. Pertama, mohon pada saat masuk ke Zoom webinar, mohon klik join audio. Yang kedua, untuk kepada para panelis, mohon mute mikrofon bila sedang tidak berbicara dan selalu menyalakan video selama webinar berjalan. Ketiga, mohon mengakses Zoom dari koneksi internet yang stabil. Keempat, mohon bila mengakses Zoom webinar ini berdekatan dengan laptop atau gawai lain, untuk dapat menggunakan headset, karena bila tidak dapat menyebabkan gaung atau feedback. Yang kelima, mohon pastikan telah mengunduh atau menggunakan aplikasi Zoom terkini supaya fitur interpretation tersedia di aplikasi Zoom Bapak dan Ibu. Berikut adalah cara menggunakan fitur penerjemahan di dalam komputer. Mohon klik bola dunia atau klik ikon 3 titik di bawah kanan, lalu pilih Indonesian bila Bapak Ibu ingin mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Indonesia, or choose English if you want to listen to English interpretation. Bapak Ibu tidak perlu pindah channel saat berbicara dan mohon jangan mute original audio agar ketika interpreter pindah channel, Bapak Ibu tetap mendengarkan suara dari floor. Berikut adalah cara menggunakan fitur penerjemahan di telepon seluler Bapak Ibu. Mohon klik 3 titik di bawah kanan atau more, kemudian klik language interpretation dan pilih bahasa yang Bapak Ibu perlukan. Jangan lupa untuk klik dan untuk mengaktifkan fitur penerjemahan di dalam telepon seluler Bapak dan Ibu. Berikut adalah cara melihat tampilan broadcasting only saat materi presentasi ditampilkan. Ketika share screen muncul, Bapak Ibu mohon klik tombol view yang terdapat di pojok kanan atas Zoom, lalu pilih standar, lalu klik swap video and share screen untuk menukar tampilan broadcasting dan sebaliknya. Untuk Bapak Ibu yang ingin melihat tampilan presentasi lebih jelas, silakan tetap menggunakan view side by side speaker. Terakhir dari kami disclaimer, Bapak dan Ibu, guna memastikan kelancaran pertemuan hari ini, host dan co-host berhak melakukan mute audio atau stop video para panelis yang tidak sedang bicara saat mereka tanpa disengaja menyebabkan gangguan terhadap acara. Ini dilakukan untuk menjamin suara pembicara dan juru bahasa tetap jelas. Terima kasih atas kerjasama Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Have a productive webinar.
Sorry. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Greetings and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to this very important afternoon session, the launching of the report on the state of English as a medium of instruction in higher education institutions in Indonesia. My name is Paulina Panen. I'm from ICE Institute of Universitas Terbuka, who will be moderating this session. And let us just start. Honorable Professor Nizam, Director General of Higher Education, Research and Technology from Ministry of Education, Research and Technology, Professor Aris Junaidi, Director of Learning and Student Affairs, Dr. Benny Bandanajaya, Director Vocational and Professional Education, also from Ministry of Education, Research and Technology, and then we have Mr. Hugh Moffat, Director of British Council Indonesia. All speakers and the research teams led by Dr. Martin Lam from University of Leeds. Welcome to our session. Today we gather to launch a study report on the practice of ME, English as a medium of instruction, in the Indonesian higher education institutions. ME is relatively new practice in Indonesia, and I believe a better understanding on how ME is being implemented is very important. Therefore, a study has been commissioned in 2019 to investigate the policy and practice of ME within the higher education sector in Indonesia. It involves University of Leeds, Universitas Katolik Atmajaya Jakarta, Institut Teknologi Bandung, and Universitas Diponegoro under the auspices of the British Council Indonesia. And now we are delighted to know that the study has been completed and ready to be launched. Let us first welcome Mr. Hugh Moffat, Director of the British Council Indonesia, to give welcoming remarks to this launching event. Mr. Moffat, please.
Thank you very much, Ibu Paulina. Thank you, and welcome everybody. Firstly, just to say, the situation obviously in Indonesia must be very worrying for all of us, for all of you, and I really appreciate the fact that we're all gathered here today and we're all still working despite those challenges. So I recognise putting an event like this in this situation is very, very challenging. So thank you very much for your time. But just to acknowledge that and all the hard work that everyone is doing, working from home or wherever they may be working to make this sort of event happen. So firstly, just to say that, and thank you very much. Professor Nizam, Professor Arish Junaidi, Dr. Beni Bandana Jaya, and all of those within the Ministry of Education, thank you very much for your continued support for this process, which has been going on since 2019. Of course, the pandemic has arrived and has disrupted so many things, but I'm delighted to see that the report is where it is and has now been produced in partnership with the Ministry of Education and with the very strong support of Professor Nizam. So we really appreciate that and thank you so much. Of course, to Pauline and all the speakers, to Ibu Maria, Ibu Silawati, Colm and Dr. Harry, all of you who will be speaking today, thank you for your presentations. I'm sure it's going to give us that context for the report. And as I say, the report will be available for download for later. But mainly thank you to the research team led by Martin Lamb from Leeds, with the support from Universitas Atmajaya, ITB and Undip Semarang, all of whom, again, as I say, it's been a long process, but a process which I think is reflective of the nature of and the importance of getting it right and understanding the context of English in Indonesia and how that might support higher education. Across East Asia, over the last 20 years, ministries have identified that internationalization is critical for quality and competitiveness in higher education, and that English is a tool for teaching and learning non-language related subjects such as engineering. These are key issues that we're all facing, and how best can we do that? And the risk of not doing it well does have impact. We know that, and we can see that. We have evidence of that. Credible international education partnerships going on, and the British Council has more to offer there beyond this report. But it's fantastic to see that this context report, which will be so helpful for all the work we do as British Council to ensure that what we're doing is relevant and supportive of what will work in Indonesia, what the policy is in Indonesia, and all those processes that will help higher education universities move forward towards internationalization. So there's a huge thanks to Professor Nizam and Kendik Pud for all their support in getting us to this point. It's fantastic to have this launch. And the launch is really an idea of starting something here that will continue, a dialogue, a discussion, because it is that dialogue that we need, because universities, all the universities have different processes and procedures, may have different approaches to EMI, and these are some of the points that will be coming across from those who know much more about the subject than I do, the professionals and the experts on this panel, who will give you a very broad perspective and something to think about. But it's also something for all of us to work with in the coming years as we look to internationalize and, from the UK side, support as best we can. It's something we've been doing for 80 years around the world, certainly in Indonesia, certainly for 75. I can never remember the exact number. But linking back to a bit of history, to mention, you saw at the beginning of the presentation a video of our digital library. This is something we're very, very proud of. I mean, you may know the British Council, but the British Council has been known throughout history for its library. But of course, as the world has changed, so the library has retreated, and now the library has re-emerged in digital form. And the British Council now has its own digital library. I think those of you in Jakarta may remember, I think people call it the Cheese Grater building, used to have a British Council library. It no longer does, but now we have the digital library. And that video you've shown or just seen is now going to be made available in the next couple of months in Indonesia. So I'm sure you're fed up with watching streaming sites. We now have our own, which will enable you to read books, read articles, watch film and different film, award-winning films and documentaries. And that's something we think that is a supporter, an enabler, a contributor to internationalization, seeing and learning different things, and the use of the English language. So we hope that's another example of how we continue to help and partner and work with Indonesia, and particularly with the Ministry of Education here. So just to say again, thank you very much to Professor Nizam, Ministry of Education, to all of you. Very much looking forward to this event. And back to you, Pauline.
Thank you, Mr. Hugh Moffat. Thank you very much for your very warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we will connect to Professor Nizam in a later time. Right now, let us move to the core event, that is presentation on the report of the study, The State of English as a Medium of Instruction in Higher Education in Institutions in Indonesia by Dr. Martin Lam from University of Leeds. Dr. Martin Lam is the lead researcher, and he is supported by Dr. Dana Waskita from Pusat Bahasa ITB, Dr. Hari Kucha, University of Leeds also, Ibu Nilawati Hadisantosa from Universitas Atmajaya Jakarta, and Pak Nur Fauzan Ahmad from Universitas Diponegoro Semarang. Dr. Martin Lam, you have 10 minutes for your presentation, please.
Untuk presentasi Anda, silakan.
Thank you very much, Bu Paulina.
Terima kasih banyak Ibu Paulina, dan terima kasih kepada Bu dan British Council yang sudah mengundang kami hari ini untuk meluncurkan laporan penelitian kami. Dan atas nama tim peneliti, saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada British Council yang sudah memberikan kesempatan kepada kami untuk melaksanakan penelitian ini, yang merupakan penelitian yang sangat menantang tetapi sangat memuaskan ya dalam hal pekerjaan yang kami kerjakan selama 18 bulan ini. Dan laporan akan dipublikasikan secara umum segera ya. Dan saya tahu bahwa ada yang sudah melihat mungkin dan membaca rangkuman eksekutifnya atau rangkuman temuannya. Jadi saya akan menggunakan 10 menit yang saya miliki untuk fokus pada rekomendasi.
Explain some of the evidence and the reasoning that lie behind those recommendations. So I think looking back at at the data that we generated in 2019, there were two overriding impressions that struck the research team. On the one hand, there was a tremendous enthusiasm for EMI, for English medium instruction, in many of our respondents. So lecturers who told us they
Dosen mengatakan bahwa mereka sangat senang mengajar dalam Inggris. Kemudian para manajer perguruan tinggi senang bahwa mereka juga bangga ada kolaborasi dengan luar negeri, dan mahasiswa juga bangga masuk ke dalam program internasional dan juga belajar dalam bahasa yang digunakan secara internasional. Bahasa Inggris sebagai pengantar ini kelihatannya menyebar secara cepat di kalangan perguruan tinggi Indonesia, dan ini merupakan kesan yang kami peroleh pada tahun 2019. Dan sebagai hasil dari antusiasme dan penyebaran dari para dosen, dekan, kemudian juga para manajer dan mahasiswa. Jadi antusiasmenya ada di situ, tetapi di sisi lain
and heard a number of concerns about EMI, about the effect that it may be having on student education, about what the ministry policy was, whether the ministry was fully supportive of EMI, and concern about just about how it should be implemented so that it was inclusive and fair and actually promoted student learning. And we share these concerns because although we saw evidence of EMI working very well, we did also see some evidence of situations where it didn't seem to be working so well, where students didn't seem to be understanding what they were being taught, or where the instructor was having to simplify the content of their lectures so that students could understand, or was relying on pre-prepared PowerPoint slides in English, and there was very little spontaneous interaction with the students. And I think no one should underestimate how significant it is to change the medium of instruction from mother tongue to a second language, or underestimate the effects that that can have on quality of education. And of course, we know there is plenty of evidence from around the world about the damage that that can do. So it's because of both, on the one hand, the enthusiasm for EMI, alongside concerns for quality, that we made our first recommendation. And this was for a quasi-official body to be set up in the ministry, with responsibility for, among other things, providing training for new EMI teachers, monitoring standards, researching processes and outcomes of EMI. When we were conducting the research, there was still uncertainty about what the ministry position was on internationalization and EMI. Obviously, since then, there's the new Campus Merdeka policy, and the ministry position may well be much clearer now. And it may also have be a catalyst for even more rapid growth of EMI. And we feel that definitely does need careful monitoring. Secondly, even before the Campus Merdeka policy, it was clear that many higher education institutions were planning to expand provision of EMI as part of general internationalization policies. However, we got the impression that very few institutions had a clear written policy for EMI. In fact, in some cases, we got the feeling that management weren't entirely sure what EMI was going on in their institutions. So we think it's essential that wherever EMI is taking place, universities have an explicit policy, setting out the rationale, stating the prerequisite qualifications of lecturers to teach in English and students to study in it, and also setting out the goals of such courses. So preparing a public document like this will force practitioners to ask themselves key questions like, is this course designed to promote language skills as well as subject knowledge? And how should the learning outcomes be assessed? These are really key questions that we felt weren't always being answered. One of the key decisions for universities will be about standards of English, because EMI can only work effectively when students have adequate competence in English. At the moment, lecturers in Indonesian universities deal with this problem pragmatically through using the mother tongue. For example, through translanguaging or code switching, And that's a very common strategy in every country where English medium instruction is being implemented. And it helps to scaffold student understanding. But it's not an ideal solution because it slows down the teaching process. And clearly too much use of the mother tongue undermines the goal of improving skills in English. So we recommend that students who enter EMI programs should have a minimal level of English proficiency. We don't know exactly what that is, and it probably varies from subject to subject and context to context. But we can be sure that it's higher than the kind of sort of minimal standards that are being applied in some institutions, for example, a TOEFL score of 450. And we hope that the ministry will consider perhaps developing a test, a standardized test that could be used throughout higher education, maybe based on the common European framework of reference, and which will provide transparent standards that is clear for all institutions. To help students achieve this level, we think that there should be changes to some of the MKU courses in English that are still common in Indonesian higher education. Some of them we know that are really not functional, in that they're often grammar based and go over some of the same material that students have been learning in school for many years. And we suggest these courses should be repurposed as English for general academic purposes. And then that students who are destined for English medium courses should perhaps do further courses in English for specific academic purposes. And this will require cooperation between university language centres and the subject teachers in the faculties. And we think that even it's possible that language specialists could work closely with the subject specialists and even work with them in the classroom to help scaffold student understanding. I'm sure that higher education institutions are already coming up with innovative solutions in this area, and we can also learn from what is going on elsewhere in Asia. Our fifth recommendation related to training courses, because even when staff and students' English competence is good, it's clear that good EMI instruction is not just teaching in English. Extra care has to be given to ensure that students are understanding content, to checking that they can demonstrate their understanding in English. And our research shows that training courses can be really effective in helping lecturers to do these things. We came across two different training courses offered by organizations in Indonesia that seemed to be working really well. The lecturers who had taken these courses were very enthusiastic and really felt skilled. And we might add that the skills that the lecturers develop on these courses in classroom management, using group work, concept checking, and so on, would actually be useful for all instructors at university level, even those teaching in the mother tongue. My final point concerns technology. One of the beneficial side effects of this terrible pandemic over the last year is that we have all become much more digitally literate. And we already, before the pandemic, we saw from our research that EMI can be facilitated by effective online learning platforms. And of course, we're not recommending completely online provision of EMI. We are having these debates in the UK, and our students here in the UK are telling us they do not want completely online provision. But it's clear, we've also learned over the last year here in the UK that international students have found the use of technology very helpful in their studying this year. So for example, where lecturers post their slides online before sessions, students can prepare themselves in advance, anticipating any language difficulties. Recordings of lectures, ideally accompanied by slides and with automatic transcriptions, can be posted online afterwards, allowing students to revise their understanding and go over sections that they found challenging. Links can be provided to useful content already online on sites like YouTube. And several lecturers have told us that the availability of these resources was one of the great advantages of EMI. Again, we're sure that this kind of good practice is already happening in higher education institutions in Indonesia, including those represented here at this meeting, and I look forward to hearing about them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lam. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a round of applause to Dr. Lam for such timely and substantial study on EMI in higher education institutions in Indonesia. Let us now go to the players in the field, the two lecturers of higher education institutions that have been implementing EMI in their institutions. What are they saying regarding their experience in implementing EMI? What are the critical factors and whether the study is a valuable tools for them to improve their practices? First, it's from ITS Surabaya, Associate Professor Maria Anityasari, PhD, Director of Global Partnership in ITS Surabaya, to share the experience of ITS as a public university in delivering EMI program. Ibu Maria, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Paulida. Thank you very much all the committee for giving me an opportunity to share, and also Pak Martin Lam for sharing a wonderful and insightful result of your hard work, the research work that you have just released. Bapak Ibu yang terhormat, Profesor Nisa,
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Nisa, Professor Arif Junaidi, and Mr. Benny.
This session, and I would like to share several ideas, several experiences that we have here at our campus, ITS Surabaya. Whenever we talk about EMI, I hope by now you already see my PowerPoint. I put ITS journey in enhancing alumni and institution competitiveness as my title. Why? Where is AMI in my title? Because actually AMI is very essential part of our strategy in enhancing alumni competitiveness. Whenever I talk about AMI, it always brings me back to 10 years ago, 2012, when I was firstly assigned as the Director of International Office or International Global Engagement, the name by now. And at the beginning of 2012, I was asked, what is internationalization? Why we have to work on internationalization? What is global reputation? Why we have to bother? Where should we start? What to do? Nothing. I mean, like, there is no clue. There is no guidance to which direction we have to work toward. And then what actually need to be aimed. After a lot of reflection, focus group discussion, and observation, for sure, we figure out that actually the core of internationalization, the core of why we have to work towards global reputation is about striving for dignified equality. That's what we define the vision of our internationalization, memperjuangkan kesetaraan yang
to
bermartabat.
fight for the dignified equality.
Strive for dignified equality. Why we have to memperjuangkan kesetaraan yang bermartabat? In 2012, Bapak Ibu, we still in the process of globalization and ASEAN Economic Community still on the way to be fully implemented. So when my rector called me and gave me assignment as the Director of International Office, my rector said, please think how to anticipate the need for global market. And suddenly I realized that during the global market, all doors, all wall will be open, will be free flow of skilled worker, free flow of product and services, free flow of investment and so on. And the world market, the job market becomes so open. And it is a bit scary, honestly. I have to say it is a scary situation, especially if our student, if our alumni not ready to get into a fair situation in the global market. We know that other countries already prepare a lot of things. We know that in many countries, they pursue the internationalization, the English proficiency, education, English program most intensively than Indonesia. Suddenly I realized that if, for example, engineers, scientists that produce by our campus stand together with other young people from different countries, and then they start talking and they start discussing and they start solving problem, and then their language ability become barrier. I cannot imagine if the bright student, the bright Indonesian scholar cannot pursue their best, cannot achieve their dream just because they don't have language skill. It is not fair. Therefore, since 2012, we are thinking we have to work hard to make the opportunity for every single Indonesian equal with other young people from different country, from developed country, from advanced country, and they have to stand firmly in the global market. Because of that reason, Bapak Ibu, because of this reason, we are thinking how to connect internationalization and nationalism. In our campus, internationalization and AMI later on, not created just to create, I'm very sorry to say, but higher tuition fee, for example, and then high class student, exclusivity. No, we don't want to do that. But we want our student, 22,000 of ITS students, no matter their background, no matter their economic situation, all of them will have same opportunity to pursue their dream. So that's become our reasons. We are thinking about how to produce good alumni, how to produce global competitiveness of alumni. We need high quality of learning process. We need high quality of lecturer. We need high quality of facilities, services, and language and communication skill. From where we should start? We have to start from every angle that we can reach. So no, not just by training students and then providing them with higher tuition fees so they can pay more and give income to the university. Not like that, but we need to make AMI class affordable. We create AMI class to give opportunity for our students to know the term discussed in the global world using global term. English is the global language. So we need our students to know good English, to be able to express themselves in the good language, to be able to articulate their idea, agreement or an disagreement in a good way. So we try to create EMI class, not only for our students to know the standard of language used in their field, but also by having EMI class, we will be able to invite international students to come. And when international students to come and cross-cultural communication will be happening.
Ibu,
That means our student.
Maria, excuse me. You
Yeah.
have 1 more minute, please.
Yeah. Our student will be more confident to get into global world. So this is our journey with EMI. We are doing a lot of training. More than 300 lecturers were trained, more than 20 departments at 7 faculties, and up to now, we are still working very hard to achieve that dream, because we know that the homework are still plenty. So once again, AMI, yes, this is the way we try to provide good education for our students to make them a better alumni and to be ready for the job market. Thank you so much. Back to you, Bu Paulina.
Thank you very much, Ibu Maria. That was really enlightening for all of us. Your, what you call, your commitment, the institutional commitment of how AMI is supposed to be setting the goal for all of you in ITS. Thank you, Ibu Maria. And the second one, we will go into Ibu Susilowati, a lecturer and chair of English Language Education Program from Sampurna University, to share the experience of Sampurna University as a private university in delivering AMI. Ibu Susilowati, you have 10 minutes for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. I think I need permission for sharing my slide. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again, Bu Paulina, Prof. Nizam, and the distinguished speakers. I'd like to share about the implementations of English as a medium instructions in Sampurna University. So before I share about this, I'd like to share about what's the goal of Sampurna University. So here is Sampurna University aims to be the highest standard, get the highest standard in tertiary education. And then the programs are designed to accommodate seamless transfer to most universities in United States, as we provide general education. And the aim for this general education courses is to serve as foundation to cultivate the 21st century skills, and then also to strengthen the multiliteracy skills and interdisciplinary approach. So having these goals, we try to come up with a selection process. We have what we call PERT, sorry. This is stands for post-secondary education readiness test. This is one of the tests that we adopt from one of the states in the United States, which is Florida. And this test aim for seeing the placement and whether the students are ready to have the college courses or not. So the test consists of reading, writing, and mathematics. So all of the tests are, of course, written in English. So if they pass the test, so they can go directly to take the college courses. But then if they don't pass the test, they will have this what we call pre-developmental course, which we divide into EAP4. So we start from EAP4 that focus on grammar and writing, and also reading and communication. And we also have EAP 5 and 6, which is about compositions and advanced reading. So if they pass EAP 4, they can go to EAP 5 and 6. Or maybe if they think they can go to PERT test, so they can, after they take EAP 4, they can go to PERT test. So having this pre-development course, and then the students don't need to take a PERT test anymore. So they can go to general education, and then we stated that they are college ready. And the EMI itself in Sampurna University, I think we ask the students and the lecturers to deliver the courses in English, except for Bahasa Indonesia, Pancasila, and Pendidikan Kewarganegaraan. So in that case, 90% of the lecturers are bilingual, even though they are Indonesian, so they have to be able to deliver the subject, their courses in English. And then before they go, the students, before they go to their discipline courses, they take general education courses in the first and the second year. So this is to to maintain their English. This is going to, to deliver, to help them to get their English skills before they go to discipline courses. In general education course, they can take composition 1 and 2. Okay, they will improve their writing skills, and then they also take what we call is introduction to speech, when they can practice their speaking skills. Yeah, so these are the foundations what we have for our first and second year students before they go to third and fourth year students, before they take their discipline courses. We also have a student success program that offer for the students who need help in their difficulties. For example, we have a tutorial program for writing skills. We also have tutorial programs for any other subjects that they find it difficult to acquire. And we having this, I think maybe we can take a lot of benefit from this ME, from this EMI. But the one that I shared here with you is maybe it's not does not represent the whole Sampurna University students, because I'm from Faculty of Education. So I think these are the benefits that the Faculty of Education students stated and expressed it to me. And these are the benefits that they said, that they can gain better understanding on subject being taught, and then they can have more confidence in communicating with people from other countries. And of course, because they speak English, they write in English, they can improve writing and presentation skills. And they also agree that they can improve their English language proficiency. However, they also stated some of the challenges when they study, when they learn the subject in English. Like, for example, here, their lack of vocabulary skills, and they need to have more time to understand the subject. And I think for the first year students, they are so difficult to express the ideas in the class. And a lot of time, students feel frustrated due to lack of English language proficiency. So having the programs that we can have, that the Sampurna University can do for them to help them improve, to help them success in their study. So these are the programs that they suggest that the Sampurna University can have is tutorial program. We have it already, and then we also in some courses we do some extensive and listening, extensive reading and listening program. And then we also have a study group, which we call it like a buddy, learning buddy. And in Faculty of Education, we also have like fun English programs such as Lingua Plaza, when the students can express their ideas, that express their practice their English skills in a fun way. So they want to have a fun English program. So we provide this with Lingua Plaza. And then I think for the senior year students, they want to have like 1 day, 1 article program, because they're preparing themselves to write a capstone. They need to be able to write scientific paper. So they want to know, to understand how to understand the journal, how to comprehend or how to write scientific paper better. And of course, they want to have more exposure to English outside the classroom. So one of the program that we have is like Wednesday English day, something like that on Wednesday. And then in many in official program, we also ask the students and the lecturers to speak in English. So I think English is spoken in Sampurna University, and all the lecturers and the students are encouraged, and maybe this is one of the policy of Sampurna University, that the students and the lecturers have to have English as their medium of instructions. I think that's what I'd like to share, Bu Paulina.
Thank you, Ibu Susi. Thank you very much, Ibu Susi, for your insightful experience. Ladies and gentlemen, we will go into our the presentation from the Director of English Education and Society of the British Council Indonesia, Mr. Colm Downes. Mr. Downes will share what British Council is currently and planning to do in the area of AMI and English in general in Indonesia and also in other countries. So please welcome Mr. Colm Downes. You have also 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ibu Paulina, and thank you very much to all of the speakers today. On behalf of the British Council, I'd just like to again reiterate our country director, Hugh Moffat's words, and thank the Ministry of Education and Culture for their partnership in this important research, and the research team who've conducted it, both our expert academics from Leeds University in the UK. We're delighted that we have Professor Harry Kucha and Martin Lam with us today, and our Indonesian academics as well. It's a very, very important report that is being launched today. I hope everybody reads it, not just the executive summary, but the whole report and the detailed recommendations that Martin outlined earlier in today's launch event. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the British Council's position, or evolving position, I should say, because it's a complicated area, on English medium education. And then I'll share a few updates on current activity, including a global mapping bit of work that we're doing. And I will be comparing some of the initial findings from that with the recommendations in our Indonesia report. And I will finish with a few tentative suggestions for what we might collectively do next as a future step. I'm going to share a slide or two, so hopefully you'll be able to see my screen. Let me pull this up. Back. Can you see my slide, Paulina?
Yes, Pak Daunas.
Okay, so this is a screenshot of a website, British Council website. If you use that link, EME_BC, you'll find it, or if you simply search for British Council English Medium Education, you will get to our website. Our Indonesia report will be there very soon. It's already on our British Council Indonesia website, but it will soon be on our global website. And this is where we outline our own evolving position and put all of our global research papers in one place. What I would say about the British Council's position on EME is, well, first of all, we feel as an organization that there is insufficient research to currently have a set global position. At the moment, we have what we would say is an evolving position or perspectives, allowing for sort of a more nuanced response grounded in specific contextual scenarios. And this is by means to say that we do not 100% blanket, like endorse English medium education or instruction. Obviously, as the previous speakers have outlined, if English medium instruction is done badly, it can have seriously negative effects on learning outcomes for those students. So we do not want to endorse poor policy or poor implementation, but the British Council certainly does want to promote quality and successful learning outcomes through EME. So we're very keen to identify what are the key ingredients for EME or EMI programs to ensure that learning outcomes are not negatively impacted. In fact, that they may even be enhanced and that students will have better learning outcomes. The second point I wanted to draw your attention to, and this is a relatively new development, is you may note that our British Council website says English medium in higher education. We talk now in terms of EME rather than EMI. And one of the reasons for this use of EME, English medium education, is that we think really it should be, it's not just the language of instruction, but it is something that is holistic. It is all elements of a learning system. So, for example, if you're at an institutional level, a transition to English medium education should involve, we believe, all aspects of campus life, from administration to support structures, to curriculum, assessment, and professional development. You can't just have EMI, the language of instruction, and, for example, have local languages used for assessing students at the end of that course. So we think that EME is a more holistic term to say that it's a transition across the implementation of those programs. The next thing I wanted to say about the British Council's position is that we, as an organization, embrace multilingualism. And we highly respect and place a lot of importance on all languages, and there should be support for all languages, and that internationalization doesn't only apply to English. We know that English is probably the most common lingua franca for international courses, but there are many examples of, and good examples of, international courses in countries where English is not the medium of instruction, and that other countries are using different language. In Germany, in Japan, you can find plenty of courses where students are, international courses where students have to do those courses in those languages. And there's no reason why Indonesia shouldn't have an ambitious strategy to have international courses in Bahasa Indonesian and have students from around the world, and especially students from ASEAN countries, come and study in Bahasa Indonesian as well. So embracing multilingualism is a big part of our position. Internationalization through language, not just English. Another core belief of ours is that policy, good policy in education systems needs to be driven both top down and bottom up. So we need to have clear, transparent guidelines from the Ministry of Education and policies, but those policies need to be drawn up through consultation and listening to students, listening to academics, listening to society, in order for the best sort of policies to kind of be reached collectively. And obviously institutions, and I think this report that Martin and the team have put together, it highlights the need for higher education institutions to clearly outline the reasons and the rationale behind their EME programs. Another point, I'm aware of time, but a couple of points I also want to make is that EME is not a one-size-fits-all, as we've seen through the various case studies in the Indonesia report, that EME can be done in a range of different ways. There isn't one way of doing English medium instruction or English medium education. There's no one-size-fits-all, and that the approach that is adopted should be the one that is best suited to the needs of that country and of that context. And there needs to be more research into that area to make sure that EMI or EME programs are adapted to suit the local socio-cultural context and local student needs. I'm going to move on to another slide, and I'm aware of time. Maybe this highlights this fact that, and this is another key, and this is a real passion of mine actually. We're talking about English as the medium of instruction, where lecturers' job and focus is and should be on the content of those lectures. They just are delivering that in English. So, as you can see very clearly from this this graphic, that English or English language is not the primary focus of an EMI program. I completely agree with an earlier speaker who says that we need to do more to enhance the global competitiveness of students in Indonesia. We want Indonesian students to finish school and finish university with brilliant English language skills, and not just the richest students, but all Indonesian students. But we need to be careful in thinking that by having an EMI program is going to lead to that outcome, or is going to lead to that outcome by itself. I think that there is a real need, and I think the report makes this point, for students to have strong, high quality general English and academic English provision whilst they're at universities. And actually the last speaker from Sampurna University talked about those extracurricular activities and having more English, not in the lectures themselves, but on campus and sort of around the university. I think, and this is just as true in the UK as it could be anywhere, but if your aim is to improve your English language skills, that can be best done through general English and academic English provision by English teachers. Now, obviously, we want, there is a space for EMI courses, and often the reason for an EMI course is that there are, it's an international set of students. And so if you have an international set of students, maybe English is going to be that medium of instruction, a shared language for all those students. It's going to be very important that students and lecturers have a minimum level of English in order
One more minute.
Okay,
One more minute.
So let me say a little bit about that minimum level of English, okay? Because this is another key point that I wanted to make, is that given the range of, the range of English language proficiency scores accepted for admission onto EMI programs at higher education institutions, I think more research is needed to assess what is the minimum level of English proficiency necessary to undertake a particular course in English, and by what means is that level of English assessed. Well, we know that international tests until quite recently have been very expensive, and that universities have developed their own tests. I think that's changing. I think we're seeing some really high quality new tests coming, which may bring the cost of those things down. But obviously looking at making sure that we have affordable tests, fair tests, reliable tests, as entry and exit requirements onto EMI programs is incredibly important. The last thing I wanted to say, have I got another here on a slide? No, I'll send these in a minute in the chat, but I'll stop sharing my screen, and I wanted to say one more thing. What I wanted to finish with really was around supporting universities and supporting EMI lecturers, because we know with this rapid transformation that a lot of lecturers and a lot of universities who maybe have been teaching in their first language until quite recently are now being asked to teach in English, and that's a big challenge. In order for EMI programs to succeed, those lecturers, and some of you might be joining this right now and watching this webinar, we feel that you need more support, not only in improving your own general English, but in learning techniques for using English as a medium of education. And the British Council, along with others, we are very, very sort of happy to continue to look at working with the Ministry of Education and Culture and with universities in Indonesia to play a role in providing that support necessary for institutions and for EMI lecturers. We're doing it at quite a large scale in a few other countries in East Asia right now, in Taiwan and in the Philippines. And I look forward to, as one of the next steps in exploring that further with Indonesian stakeholders. But at the same time, a lot of changes that are necessary will need to be owned by everybody. Everybody needs to think what they can do individually and what we can do collectively, because nobody by themselves can change the whole system. We just have to do it, I think, as a team, as a collective. Thank you very much, Pauline. I'm sorry for maybe going over time, but delighted to be here on this important launch event of this important research. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Downers. Thank you very much for the enlightening information. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now come to the Q&A sessions. We have heard a lot of speakers, the keynotes, as well as the speakers, as well as all the players in the field regarding the English as a medium of instruction. I believe we can now have a 15 minutes Q&A, and our team from the British Council Indonesia have selected, wow, there are so many questions. I think we can only take 3 questions only. So much. Later on, we save some times also for our media reporters to ask questions. Okay, please, number 1, the panelists presenting their experiences are from large public and private universities with comparatively large resources. Did the study also include experiences, problem faced by smaller private university with limited resources? If it did, what recommendation could you give to either the government or the smaller universities regarding implementation of EMI? I believe this will be for what do you call Pa Martin. Are you still there, Dr. Martin Lam?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Could you share your thought on this?
Yes, thank you for the question. Our research did generate data from both very large and prestigious institutions and also from smaller and less well-resourced institutions. You know, and we found that some of these smaller private universities were very keen to promote EMI. To be honest, I think our recommendations, though, would be the same for whether an institution is large or small, to focus on quality, to try to ensure that any EMI or EME that goes on is conducted well. And that means working out why you're doing it in the first place. What is the purpose of the course? And then, as I mentioned in my talk earlier, about what are the prerequisite standards that should be applied for students joining the program in terms of their English, and lecturers. What standards of English and what skills do they need to do it well? I think this applies to any institution that is considering introducing EMI.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Can we go into the second one? Yes. Considering English is a foreign language in Indonesia, even in an English course, they, teacher and student, do not use English fully in the class. So from which point or step that the EMI program will be started to be implemented in Indonesia? How long will it take times to completely be implemented in Indonesia? I would like to invite Ibu Maria to answer this.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Paulina. Bapak Ibu, thank you for the question. It is actually lack of awareness that causing this situation. We have experience in ITS when students do not understand, even though they are in international program, but they do not understand why they have to be there. They still use bahasa. If they use English because they don't want to, feel, oh, I pay more, why should I use Indonesian? But not because of the awareness, sincere understanding. But in the regular program, for example, one student understand this is for your future, you have to be competitive, you have to be able to get into global market, and then they push themselves to consistently using English. And also for the teacher, as long as if they understand the purpose, the big goal, the vision of why we have to use this language, why we have to be more work harder to make this happen. If the awareness is there, every door will be open. So I believe that we have to work on awareness. That's the fundamental thing.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ibu Maria.
Paulina.
Thank you, Ibu Maria. Can we go into the third questions, please? Okay. Adopting and even adapting CE-IFR in the field of ELT in Indonesian higher educations, both academic and vocational types, has been one of my concern and interest. Would you suggest one way the Indonesian MOE and Research and Technology and British Council can go hand in hand to work on these goals? I believe this will go into Pak Downes. Hello.
I'm on mute, sorry. Thank you very much for the question. I'm glad I got this question. I hope we can invite Dr. Harry Kucha at some point to answer his reflections on any of these questions, because we're very lucky to have Harry with us as well at the end. But just on this specific question, okay, I could say so much about this. One is the CEFR is being used globally, extensively in Southeast Asia by schools and by universities, by ministries, different ministries. It's growing. It's almost like a phenomenon. And I feel a little bit like Indonesia is being left behind because there's a lack of awareness about the CFR And I think more can be done to use the CEFR levels in Indonesia. This doesn't necessarily mean that we have to take the CEFR international framework from the way it is written in Europe without any contextualization or adaptation for what might be appropriate for Indonesia or for Southeast Asia. I think that we can certainly work together with assessment experts, both Indonesian and international experts, to look at creating, adapting the CEFR band indicators and framework into a version that is contextually appropriate for Indonesian higher education institutions. But what I think it will be useful about it is the outcome of this will be that you will have bands. Students will know what their level of English is. I know it's an A2 or a B1 or a B2, and that is the same level that everybody else will know whether they need to get those bands in order to get a visa or get accepted onto an overseas program, like there's this new campus Merdeka program that the ministry has set up, which is fantastic. You'll have something to aim for. Teachers also can only give feedback to their students if they can give them a very clear guidance on what their current level of English is and what they need to do in order to improve it. So I'm a big fan of assessment and CEFR, but I'm also a fan of adaptation and making it locally and contextually relevant. So yeah, I'll stop because I could talk all afternoon. Thanks, Paulina.
Thank you, Pak Tom. Okay, we'll go to the next questions, please. Okay. Oh, this is from for Professor Maria. Oh, this is a compliment, Professor Maria. A compliment for your effort. Okay, we go to the next, please. Again, Ibu Maria. I think we will share with Ibu Maria privately, yeah? Okay, the next. Pak Martin. Okay, I would like to ask Dr. Hari here to represent Pak Martin. Pak Martin mentioned about the needs to increase and perhaps standardize the English language requirement for students attending EMI programs. Do we also need the same similar measure for lecturers teaching the EMI programs? Dr. Hari, could you help me on answering these questions?
Right. Thank you very much, and thanks to all the speakers. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this webinar, which is also enriching for me. The research itself was a very enriching experience for me, and just listening to the different speakers has helped me understand more about the Indonesian context itself. There is definitely a need to standardize the English language requirement for students attending EMI. And I think the other questions have talked about that in a sense, especially the previous one. However, I wanted to start from the basis, and I think Colm did that in his presentation, that EMI is not just about English language, because there are other ways and better ways of learning English language, especially academic English or English for specific degree programs, which are better than EMI itself. EMI is more about content, and the literature on EMI and places where there is some degree of success with EMI recognize the multilingual repertoire of students and what their multilingual knowledge brings to the EMI classroom. So while there would definitely be a certain measure of English language required for being part of an EMI program, I think it's important to remember that EMI is not just about languages. In fact, it is primarily about content, and that multilingual practices would work really well in the EMI classroom. A second thing would be for the teachers, of course. Teachers need to have a good level of English language to be able to have the confidence to teach through the medium of English. because we often just look at the technical aspects of language, but there's also the personal issue. Is the teacher confident enough? Can they engage in a free conversation without having to rely on a scripted slides for their teaching? So I think their language, the baseline needs to be set for language, but also, and more importantly, for the pedagogy of teaching through EMI.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. Shall we go to the next questions, please? Next questions, please. Is this the next questions? Okay. I would like to invite Ibu Susi to make comment on this. According to the report, is there any connection between the use of EMI and the existence of internationalization strategy in certain higher education? What is the goal of the EMI commonly found in the field? Thank you. I believe you can highlight the Sampurna Foundation experience on this. Please, Ibu Susi.
Thank you, Ibu. Yeah, I think I like to go back, way in 2009 when Sampurna Foundation established Sampurna School of Education. At that time, there was struggle happen, Bapak Ibu, because we don't have, now we have in Sampurna University, we have what we call PE test. But then, back then, we only have like what we call placement test. And then the placement test was developed by the lecturers, the English lecturers. And but then we have what we call, like enhancements program, English enhancement programs, which is 9 credits. We offer this for students in the first year. And then because they came from like in Indonesia, the context is EFL, and then they have to go to first language education, first language English. So it's quite a big leap between EFL context to EFLE context. So we kind of push all the students and the lecturers to use English, even though it's not perfect. But then, practice makes better. Practice makes progress. So this is what we have when we had this Sampurna School of Education. And then now in Sampurna University, because we have standardized test, which is PERT, and then we make sure that the students are ready for college courses. If they're not ready, so we have to prepare them with the pre-development course. And then the benefit of having this EMI, they became a work-ready employee, and then becomes an employer as well. So they get some, like a lot of benefits on having EMI. Not only for the workplace, but also building that network in the world. For other educations. So, and I think a lot of our alumni is could get to to study abroad because of this English. So they could use this English not only for the study, but also for their after they graduate from the foundation, from the institutions. I think that's what I like to share, Ibu.
Thank you, Ibu Susi. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have come to the end of the session, and thank you very much for all your attention. Once again, the participation during this pandemic time is very much appreciated. Very much appreciated also for the speakers who are excellently illustrate the AMI in higher education in Indonesia from various perspectives, and also the report of the study that allows us to rethink our own implementation of EMI. For the EMI to success, apparently we need to establish the whole system, its ecosystem, and without it, the implementation of EMI may not result as expected. EMI has benefits, of course, but also constraint. We have to be careful with all the issues emerging when we implement the EMI, even later the EME. One is that there's a need for commitment and full intention to do the EMI, like as said by Ibu Maria, and how to do it correctly. Of course, some example is given and provided by Ibu Susi, but of course, if we are using AMI in our institution, please consider that AMI is not of what we call a case of language only, but it's also it's more of the content. That's what Dr. Harry said to us, and as such, EMI is not supposed to be a constraint for the any education process, for any students joining the education process and passing through the education process. So that's what we can take from this afternoon session, ladies and gentlemen. Those who are interested in obtaining the report, you may get the report from this link. Can you show the link for the report? The link for the report? Yes. Okay. And then we also would like to invite you to provide feedback to us. Perhaps you can share what are the 2 recommendations among the 6 provided by Dr. Martin just now that you can do in your own EMI implementation. And then also we would like to hear what are the 3 recommendations that will be very challenging for all of us, for all of you also. So please fill in the form, which is available in the link provided. Okay. And I believe that is all for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the committee to provide, to support this event very well. And once again, thank you all. Stay healthy and safe, and goodbye. An announcement for the panelists and speakers. You are